friend, what is up? Levi Allen here, and today is a pretty exciting day. I've got my hands on the recently announced at CES Panasonic GH5S. I'm shooting with my GH5 right there, and as you might remember from last year, I got my hands on this camera early, about the same time last year, from a friend of mine, Dwayne Bradley, who's a Panasonic ambassador here in Canada. So sure enough, new year, new camera. Now, I'm not a camera reviewer or tester in the traditional sense of that. I don't usually do tons of technical, finicky tests with cameras and all that kind of thing. I like to just go out and just make something with it and see how that experience goes. I did that last year with the GH5. I was actually one of the first people to shoot a vlog with the GH5, which is pretty cool. Now the GH5S, its party trick isn't dual image stabilization, it's actually its low light capability. So it is a little odd that I'm taking this right now to go out and shoot a daylight shoot, but basically what I'm trying to figure out is if I use the GH5S with support, with a stabilizer like this, am I gonna miss the dual image stabilization? Because what you gain in low light capabilities allow this to be a more well-rounded camera for just diverse lighting situations. You know, the GH5S is actually another camera alongside the GH5. What this camera can do right here is really powerful. You can shoot a film basically handheld, which is phenomenal, and get really good results. So now with this camera, if you have a little bit more support and you're gonna use it more in a traditional filmmaking sense, is it gonna be a good younger brother to one of the other Panasonic cameras like the VariCam or the EVA 1? I often shoot 4K 60p because I'm doing outdoor adventure stuff and I wanna be able to slow it down. So that's what we're gonna be shooting today, a lot of 4K 60p so I can slow it down. And because of that, we're not going to shoot in 10-bit because there's not 10-bit with 4K 60 unless you have an external recorder. Sorry, these are a lot of numbers. For people that don't care about this stuff, this probably isn't that interesting. But basically, I'm shooting in the natural picture profile with most of the settings turned down. So contrast, sharpness, and saturation. Okay, got it all bounced up. Ready to go shoot? So ready. Last year we went filming up the Chief. We made more of a day out of it, so it's easier to kind of like develop a full story. I don't know, I think just ordinary camera tests are kind of boring. I like trying to add a little story into it. Today we're just literally shooting at a highline spot right off the highway where they kind of come and practice. So I don't really know how much story we're gonna be able to implement, but we should be able to get some sweet slow motion and hopefully we get something that's half decent out of it.
It's about a grueling 1.5 minute hike. We came here, I guess, a year and a bit ago, trying to find longer lines to walk. And it's the first time we have 5 high lines up. Super cool. A lot of people want to walk more. I don't know, there's something, sometimes like I just want to walk. I don't care about anything else.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you, Levi. Always with a camera in my face. Exploiting our exploits.
Is this your just a little roadside fun here?
Yeah, the roadside attraction. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon thing to do.
It's a nice spot to come because it's so easy rigging and you can get all the lines up quite neat.
Okay, shooting so far has been going well. Been using the small HD focus on top here so I can see my image well. I've got this monster HDMI cable coming out though because I bent the pins of my other one. I've been using my monopod here a lot. I seriously haven't used the monopod in a while, so it's I mean, it doesn't seem so bad using it again. So far, some of the handheld stuff I've done, when the lens itself has stabilization, it's not so bad. But with the zoom lenses, as long as I'm like keep my hands kind of steady, it hasn't been terribly noticeable yet, as long as the lens itself does have stabilization. Because 240 frames per second slows down so much, I'm not as worried about the stabilization when I'm shooting it. 240. This looks awesome, Mia! One of my favorite things, I don't know why every camera manufacturer doesn't do this, but the custom mode dials, so C1, C2, C3, basically I can just dial in my settings and apply it to that mode dial, and it'll save it, so I can toggle between super slow motion, 1080p 60, and 10 and 4K 24 frames per second, all just with turning the dial. Every camera manufacturer should do that. We got the sun back. I'm trying to stay within my shooting style, not modifying it too much to really actually see if it works for the way that I like shooting. I didn't end up actually using the stabilizer as much as I thought once we were up here, just because, I mean, the type of shooting you get when you're near a highline is more just kind of tight in. I was doing quite a bit of handheld stuff, and from what I could see off the display, it looked okay. And what I tend to do a lot of times when shooting handheld stuff is I use a lot of slow motion. That's kind of just the reality. I don't know what to think about the footage yet either, because I haven't seen any of it on a computer. So we'll have to get back to the studio before I can actually give any conclusive thoughts of any kind. So what are my thoughts on the GH5S after doing a test shoot with it for a day? Where will it fit in my workflow in the future? And should you get one to fit into your workflow? Panasonic has built a really respectable 4K imaging machine here. And I can't help but think the irony, if they have just released this pre the GH5, what the response might have been as far as the backlash around not having internal stabilization. And they've been pretty clear that they're marketing it towards proper filmmakers who they don't even want stabilization because it messes with some of their tripod stuff. And I'm kind of in the other camp where, you know, I really love image stabilization and I use it all the time. Now, before I continue to unpack some of my thoughts on this camera, I should let you know that I really enjoyed a video by my internet friend, Caleb Pike from DSLR Video Shooter. You should definitely check this video out. He did some really intensive studio testing between the GH5S and the GH5. Testing that Caleb did really helped put to word some of the things that I was starting to notice in the image. Things like there's a slight difference in the color science, even for the better with some of the skin tones and how it's handled in the red channel. But what surprised me even more so was the ISO tests in direct comparison to the GH5. It's pretty shocking the difference in noise levels between these two cameras. In Caleb's testing, he shows that the image is still fairly strong all the way up to 6400 ISO, which definitely confirms what I was noticing in the field, where I shot a lot of stuff at 6400 ISO so I could keep shooting at 60 frames per second. And I was really impressed in the field, and it's just great to see these results actually backed up with some real data from Caleb here. The most impressive part of the video for me was when Caleb lit himself in an interview setting with a little tiny Aputure M9 little LED light. He used it as his key light. That kind of blew my mind of how far you could really push the GH5S. Now, some of you might be thinking, but wait a second, we've been enjoying these low noise capabilities in full frame mirrorless cameras for a while now. And that's true. Full frame cameras have performed excellent in low light for a long time. But we got to remember, this is a micro four thirds sensor. It's about half the size. When you have a sensor half the size, you can also have lenses that are half the size. So the Micro Four Thirds system has some strong benefits and a good case to be made for how it's a really functional, portable filmmaking setup. In 1080p, you can shoot up to 240 frames per second, which is so exciting as an extreme sports filmmaker. I just love that camera manufacturers are acknowledging we want higher frame rates. And similar to the GH5, when you jump from 125 frames per second to 180, you do lose some of that detail. And you can really notice this in images where the subject is pretty far away from the camera. It starts to fall apart a little bit with that moire. And really where the sweet spot is if you can separate your subject from the background with some depth of field, and then the image defects from the 1080p image really start to disappear a little bit. And as I look through my other footage from the day, the image that I was seeing is something that I'm very used to seeing now from the GH5. It's simply put one of the best 4K images you can get out of a sub $5,000 camera from anyone, which is why I love the camera so much. It's just such a crisp, clean 4K image. Now you might find if you already have lenses with stabilization, or you use a monopod or a handheld stabilizer, you might not actually miss the internal stabilization as much as you thought you would. When I went out and shot with this, I was pleasantly surprised with how my handheld zoomed lens shots worked. It was more usable than I expected it to be. In fact, it was more than usable. It was some fantastic shots. I think I've been a little spoiled with how magical dual image stabilization is. But again, I mean, each camera's got its little tricks. For me, I'm really looking forward to when I go out and shoot a documentary, I can have a shooting package of 4 lenses and a GH5 that's gonna be fabulous for all my daylight stuff. Then I can add a GH5S to that, and I can have a low noise camera as well. That will maybe even work for some astrophotography. I'd recommend renting one. See what you think about it when you actually go to shoot with the camera. I had to return the camera already, which is why I didn't do more tests here in the studio, and I find that I'm missing it already, which kind of surprises me a little bit. So I recommend following Caleb Pike, as he's got some other videos coming on the subject of the GH5S, and he does some excellent testing. I also recommend to watch one of the recommended videos on the sidebar there. That actually really helps the channel grow because other people find the videos. Because when YouTube notices that you click one of those videos, then they think that other people will want to click on them and they give them to other people, and it's kind of this whole little thing. So if you're thinking of any way that you could help out the channel, that's one thing you could do. You could also head over to the shop and support us with a t-shirt or something like that. And the t-shirts look great. Okay, that's it for this video. Remember guys, tech is just tech. It's all about just going out and making and telling great stories with the gear that you have access to. I'm so passionate about this, and I'm gonna keep saying that until the day that I no longer make videos. So key. It's super fun to research cameras, but it's also so much better to just go make stuff. So that's it for this one. Catch you in the next video. Peace. I did peace twice.